I grew up in North Carolina. Well, before that, I grew up in Maryland. And then when I got about like to a teenager, I got into a fight with my dad. Then I moved to North Carolina to be with my mom. And growing up in the South, being mixed, I'm telling you, I met some white people that didn't like me because I had a little bit of black in me, and I met some black people that didn't like me because I had white in me. You know, it's crazy. It's a crazy situation. But anyways, racism, it's bad down there. I ain't gonna lie. I remember dating white women when I was in North Carolina, and like I'd be around their family, and like their family like to hunt and all that. And I remember being in the car, and then their family making black jokes and stuff, and I just remember it being awkward because they would turn back and be like, "Oh, we're not talking about you. You're all right." I'm like, "What the hell, really?" It's an awkward thing, And I used to just let it slide off me, but it used to bother me sometimes. I'm not gonna lie, because you can't change the way you are, what color you are. But anyways, oh, and I met some black people. They didn't like me, and because I was dating a white woman. Some of my black side of my family, they didn't like that at all. But I remember my mom's boyfriend, he was Crip, and I started getting in trouble. I got locked up the first time in North Carolina, and he was part of the Rolling 60s, and that's who I gravitated towards as a father figure, was my stepdad. He taught me everything I know about gangbang and all that. I used to watch the rap music videos and all that, and that's all I ever wanted to do. I wanted to, live that street life and sell drugs, make fast money, but I started getting locked up, and I went in there. I told y'all a million times about me getting locked up for the first time, but I want to fast forward it and talk about this last time when I did 8 years in prison. I'm gonna tell y'all why I got locked up. Well, just before I got locked up, I was in a car accident, a really bad one. I was in Maryland. I had already moved back to Maryland. I was in Maryland, and I was on my way to PA, and I got into a bad car accident. My tibia and fibia, my leg just went, it was shattered. And I got bad on them Percocets, them pain pills. I was real bad on them things. When they be giving it to you, they don't tell you about the side effects to that stuff. But I remember, taking it, and if I didn't have one, man, I didn't feel like me. I really didn't. But it got so bad, my family started telling the doctor what I was abusing them. So they tried to cut me off of them. So I started buying them in the streets and stuff. And, when you start taking pain pills and stuff like that, it doesn't stop. It becomes a bill, a whole big bill. So I had all my hustle money went towards buying this stuff now. So, I was in the streets. Every bit of money I made went back into the pills. It was like a vicious cycle over and over. Because what it is at first, like you take that stuff and it makes you feel good and shit, right? But then over a while, your body gets used to it. And, it can't function without it. Like you would wake up and, you're miserable. You're withdrawing really bad. It's a horrible feeling, and I don't recommend anybody abusing that kind of stuff at all. I'm telling you. The only reason I got clean is because I went to jail. Thank God. But anyways, where was I at? Oh yeah, I went to visit my dad, right? Because me and my dad, we done patched things up a little bit. But one of my homies just lived next door to him. His name was Honcho. I know some of y'all probably already heard the story, but somebody asked me to tell it, so I'm going to tell it. Anyways, Honcho and me, I go over his house. We be playing 2K, basketball and all that, right? We be selling Molly, just up to no good. Just running the street life. Just doing a whole bunch of bad shit, matter of fact. But anyways, he needed a food stamp card, right? He didn't have no food. So I was middlemaning. I knew somebody that had a food stamp card. So I said, look, give me the money and I'm going to go get the food stamp card for you. So that's what I went and did. I bought him the food stamp card. It was done deal. I didn't get nothing out of it. I was middlemaning, right? So the next day, Honcho, he's blowing my phone up. I forgot what I was doing, but he's blowing me up non-stop. So I finally answered the phone and he's like, man, what, you ripped me off? I was like, what you talking about? He's like, man, I'm at the grocery store right now. I'm in line and you know, I got like $300 worth of food, and this card keeps on declining. He's like, what kind of dumbass games you playing? I'm like, I didn't know what he was talking about, right? So come to find out that the girl that gave me the food stamp card to give to him, she reported it stolen. So, you know, she tried to do that. She did that because she already got the money from him. And now she's gonna get another food stamp card with the food back on it. So, you know, she makes out good. But he didn't know that. He blamed me. So basically he told me next time he sees me, it's on site. And this is one, you know, this was my homie. He was Crip too. So basically he told me he's gonna kill me. That's what he told me. He's gonna kill me. And I told him bet, you know. But I didn't see him until I got to jail. But anyways, I got into an argument with my my wife at the time because I was married. I found her phone. I told you that part because it'll come on later on. But I got into her phone and I found out she was talking to somebody. So I told her the only way this is gonna work out is if you tell the dude to his face that you don't want to see him no more, right? So she said yes, she wants to work it out. So we're in the car and we're on the way to the dude's house. And the whole time I'm telling her I'm not gonna do nothing, right? But I already know in the back of my head, I'm gonna fuck this dude up. I already know that, right? Because every time she used to drop me off at my family's house, she'd be going sneaking around with this guy. I come to find this out. I didn't know about it. So, you know, I got all this built up anger. So we finally get to the dude's house. You know, I don't know who it is. She knocks on the door. This guy comes to the door and she starts telling him, she's like, yo, I want to work out my marriage with my husband. I can't be talking to you no more, you know? And I forgot all the things she said, but after it was done and over, after she got done talking, he was just sitting there. He wasn't saying nothing. He was just sitting there staring. And like he was poking his head out the door, you know? I got mad and I hit him in the face. He fell down to the ground and I started stomping him. And I remember his girlfriend in the house, she was like, get the gun. She told the roommate to get the gun. So I was like, it's time to get out of here because they about to shoot our asses, right? So my wife, she's shell shocked. I'm like, come on, let's get out of here. So by this time, this is where I got the warrant, the charge. So we get back to the house. By this time, I'm high as hell. You know, I've been doing drugs all day. I'm paranoid. I go upstairs to the second floor. I barricade myself into a room. I put the dresser up to the door and everything. I'm paranoid. I'm hanging out the window. I'm sitting there just listening. Because, you know, the stuff with Honcho, because I got that in the back of my head. I'm like, yo, this dude, he want to kill me. And now I done beat up this guy. So I'm thinking I got all these people after me, right? So I start hearing sirens, like cop sirens. So I'm paranoid. I'm in my boxers. I go outside on the roof and I'm just sitting there looking like a fool, man. My family had to pull me inside. I was bad off. I'm telling you, I was bad off. But anyways, the next day, I already knew that this guy was going to go to the cops for that stuff, right? So I didn't really want to be at my house no more. So I had this friend named TikTok, and he lived at a motel. And by this time, I done got my settlement back, right? And it was a lot of money. It was like $100,000. It was a lot of money. The first thing I did with my money actually is my friend TikTok, he stayed at a motel with his family. He had like 5 kids. They all stayed at a motel. So the first thing I did, I didn't even spend no money on myself at first. I took out $1,000 and gave it to him. You know, that's just what kind of friend I am. But anyways, I went over to his house. I told him, I said, I think I got this warrant. I think the cops is after me. He was like, yeah, come over to the motel. Cause I used to go over there and, you know, that's where we be selling drugs and all that. He used to have a hotel for his family. And then he have another room where we used to make money at. So I'm over there hanging out with him. And the whole time he's acting strange. He's walking in and out of the house. I mean, in and out of the hotel. Like he ain't really talking to me or nothing. You know, he's looking weird and everything. And I'm sitting there just talking to whoever's in the hotel. It could be some random junkie or something in there. I'm just talking to whoever. I'm like sitting there, I'm high on my mind. I'm sitting there telling them, I'm like, man, I think the cops after me and shit, you know, I'm being all weird and shit. But anyways, a mutual friend of ours come over there. His name is Big Poppy. And he walks into the hotel and he's like, hey, Crime, let me holler at you in the parking lot. So I go out in the parking lot and I talk to him. And basically he's telling me, he said, look, man, you need to sober up and you need to go home. And I'm sitting there telling him, I'm like, I might be wanted though. The cops might be after me. And he's like, look, I don't care about that. Listen, you think people are over helping you. It ain't cap. Trust me, none of this is cap. None of this is cap. Anyways, he's like, you think people are helping you? I'm telling you, you need to go home and sober up. So I took his advice and I went home. I went to sleep. I woke up, took a shower. I called him back. So I'm sitting there, I'm like, what the hell was he talking about? And he tells me, he said, the whole time I was over there, TikTok, my friend, the guy whose hotel room it was, the whole time he was calling people over there to rob me. And I'm talking about, I had my money in the bank. So when I say rob me, he was trying to get somebody to come over there, and basically they was gonna hold me up at gunpoint and drive me around and try to get money out of the ATM. That's what he was planning on doing. And this is the dude I done known like for years. You know, we made money together and everything. But when it comes to drugs and money, I'm telling you, you can't trust anybody. That's why that street life, you don't see that too many people getting old and, you know, having good lives when it comes to that kind of thing. They either end up dead or in jail, in prison. And that's what happened to me. Actually, it did happen to me. I'm about to get to the next part of the story. But anyways, I go back. While I'm at the house, my brother comes over. My younger brother, he's 18 years old. And the whole time, he smokes pot and stuff. He's sitting there rolling up. We sitting there playing basketball, the basketball game. And we hear banging at the door. Now, I got a whole bunch of drugs. I got a gun on me and everything. I put it into a cushion of the seat because it sounded like the cops at the door, you know, because it was loud banging. You could tell when the cops is at the door. It's like boom, 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 boom. I'm paranoid as hell. Anyways, I go to the door and that's who it is. It's the cops. I open the door, but I don't go out all the way. And basically they got a paper in their hand and they're telling me, they said, come out here and sign this paper. The victim is some kind of, I think did like a protection order or something like that. And they said, just sign the paper and that's all we need from you and you're free to go. So I was dumb at the time. I didn't understand, you know, they couldn't get to me because I was in my house. I didn't know that. Soon as I stepped out of the door, man, they grabbed me by my wrist and handcuffed me up. I was gone. By that time, my little brother came out the house and I told him, I said, hey, cause I had a little dog in there. I said, bro, please take care of my dog while I'm gone. Cause I already knew I was gone. Cause this dude, he done went and told him I had a knife and all that. So it was like I had a first degree assault charge, and that's a big charge. Anyways, I get down to the jailhouse, and this is back when COVID-19 was going on. So they had like quarantine and shit. And that quarantine is basically where they put you into a cell and you got to sit in there for like 2 weeks. They got to make sure you don't have coronavirus or whatever. But anyways, they put me in the cell with this dude named Cash. It's a little short dude. He's blood. He was blood. I forgot what set he was from, but you know, he's one of them short people that got like, you know, them short people that be having like the mouths and shit, man. They just be talking big and bad and stuff. That was him, man. He's like short as hell, but he be just talking crap to everybody. But I'm in the cell with this dude, and you know, I'm sitting there going through it. I'm sitting there like, damn, man, because they told me I'm facing like a lot of time. If I count all the charges up, it was like something like 40 years or something like that. You know, when they give you your charges, you don't really get all that time. But man, it just be like paranoid, man. It just be getting to your head. So I'm stressing out. We getting along though. Me and him, we talking and stuff and getting along. He told me he was in there for I don't know. He said I think he was in there for like some domestic violence or something like that. Him and a couple other blood members, they went to his ex-girlfriend's house and kicked in the door. And I forgot the rest he told me, but basically that was the story. Anyways, and he had a VOP, a probation violation. I do remember that part. But we was all good up until we ordered commissary. And that's when you can order like snacks and stuff from the canteen. As soon as we did that, I'm noticing he's eating up a lot of my food. Like all my chips and stuff, he's eating it up. And at the time, I'm not greedy. I'm not a stingy person. You know, I'll share what I got with somebody. But I'm noticing he's not, like every time I ask to use some of his, man, he got an attitude. So we started to get bump heads and we started fist fighting in there. You know, I got over top of him. We started fighting and stuff. I was choking him out and everything in there. I ain't gonna lie. And then the next time the CO came around, he moved cells. He told him we weren't getting along. He didn't feel safe in there. He moved cells. and they put some old guy in there. And the old guy, he was just talking about his kid the whole time. He kept on saying something about stinky butt. That's what he used to call the kid. He was like, man, that kid ain't got nobody out there except for me. Man, I miss stink butt. That's what he used to call him. But he was a cool old man. We just sat there and drank coffee all day. But anyways, I got done quarantine, and it's boring as hell. Go sit in your bathroom all day. That's what jail is. It's boring as hell, especially quarantine, because you don't get to come out of your cell. You don't get to make no phone calls, no nothing. Anyways, I got done quarantine. They take me to a regular pod at this point, and they take me to a pod. And as soon as I get in the Sally Port, the main doors, guess who I see on the second tier looking down at me? This dude named Honcho. Remember the guy I was telling y'all about the food stamps? And he told me the next time he seen me, it was on sight. He was gonna kill me. I'm sitting there looking right up at him. He's in there with me. So I already know. I'm like, damn, man. I said, I already know something's gonna happen. Anyways, you know, I go in there, I go to my cell, I put my stuff down, and I know I gotta say something to him because we used to be friends and stuff. I know we got beef and stuff. So I go up to him, I start talking to him to make sure. I'm trying to, you know, gauge his temperature, trying to see what kind of time he's on, see if I'm gonna have a problem or not. I go over there to talk to him, and he's sitting there. I can, you know how you talking to somebody, you still feel like they hate you, but they trying to act like they don't. That's what it felt like. So I just kept my distance with him. My cellie was a dude from Baltimore. His name was what was his name? Tamar. Tamar was his name. Tamar. He was from Baltimore. He was part of the BGF. If you don't know what the BGF is, it's the Black Gorilla Family. It's a gang. They on the east side. Basically, if you're from Baltimore and you in the streets and stuff, you're gonna be BGF. It's an all black gang. No white people in it. But anyway, and they ruthless. They be extorting people and all that. When you go to jail and prison, you're supposed to stay with your gang. And at the time, you know, I was Crip and stuff. So me and Honcho was supposed to be together, but we ain't rocking like that. So I'm hanging out with Tamar, my cellie. So, and plus the BGF, they be trying to bully the pod all the time. They be trying to extort people and stuff. But Honcho and a couple other like people on the tier, they would stand up and they be like, y'all ain't doing that bullying stuff here. We ain't having it. So that was like stopping them. So one day I go in my cell and Tamar's got a kite, and a kite is a note. He said, this is for you. It was under the door. So I started reading it, and it says it's from Honcho. And basically it says, I still feel some type of way about that food stamp card. If you want to be on this tier with me, you're going to have to pay me. So I'm like, damn, he trying to extort me? The fuck? So I'm telling Tamar about this stuff because me and Tamar, when you have cellie, you're going to tell that person, you know, that person going to know a lot about y'all. Y'all stuck in the cell all day. You're going to be talking about shit. But, you know, when you go to jail, you shouldn't be talking about stuff. And this is where I made my mistake. I shouldn't have told him anything. But I'm sitting there reading it. He's like, man, you gonna let him do that? You better go in his mouth when his door opens. He's hyping it up. He's hyping this up. So I'm sitting there, I'm like, yeah. I'm like, shit, but there's another Crip in the pod. I was like, damn, as soon as I hit Honcho, I know they're gonna jump my ass. Cause I ain't been kicking it with them at all. And the other Crip and Honcho, they close as hell. They every time they out for rec, they together. So he tells me, he said, don't worry about it. Me and the other BGF, we got your back. We gonna make sure it's a one-on-one. You ain't gonna get jumped. So I'm like, all right. So as soon as the doors open, you know, I got Tamar on one side of me, and I got one of his other BGFs on the other side of me. You know, I'm feeling like the shit. I ain't gonna lie, I'm feeling like the shit. I walk up to Honcho. He's all the way in the back. I walk up to him, and I don't say nothing to him. I just hit him in the mouth. Cause that's one thing about prison and jail. There ain't no fair fights, man. You gotta take. If you got an advantage, you got to take it. If you can sneak somebody, you got to do it. I'm telling you, because if the foot's on the other, if the shoe's on the other foot, they're going to stomp you out. You might lose your life. A lot of people don't make it home from prison and jail. A lot of people don't. Anyways, I'm sitting there fighting them, and I just feel boom in the back of my head. I'm like, what the hell? I turn around, and it's the other Crip. And the other Crip, he's like Biggie Smalls. He's big as shit. I mean, his hits, he was throwing them punches. Them things was slow. But when they hit you, they connect, you can feel them. He rocked my fucking head. I ain't gonna lie. I turned back around. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, where Tamar at? I look back around, and Tamar and the other BGF, they gone. They done walked off. So I'm fighting two people by myself now. No, actually, it was 3 people. It was 3 people. I had 3 people on me. Man, they was whooping the shit out of me. I'm not gonna lie. Fighting 3 people, it's not this like on the movies. You ain't gonna be Jackie Chan, you know, kicking ass. It ain't nothing like that. I'm trying to tell you, it ain't. I got my ass beat the hell up, you know, in front of everybody. It was wreck time. Everybody was out there watching. There was like 80 people out there. So they knocked me out like one time. I get up because I got that you know how you got you fighting testosterone or whatever, how you say it, is going through you. Man, you don't feel pain and stuff. I jump back up. I'm fighting again. I get knocked out again. By this time, man, they knocked me out. And I'm not gonna lie, I felt black. Like that's my eyesight just went black. I hit the ground and everything. By the time I knew it, the COs done came in there and they done cornered me into like a corner, and they're like, cuff up, or you gonna get sprayed. And I'm sitting there just yelling at Honcho because I ain't gonna lie, my pride was hurt. I ain't never got my ass whooped until that day. There ain't no fair fights in jail. I'm telling you, there ain't no fair fights. They ended up breaking my jaw. That's how fucked up I was. They broke my jaw. Cause when the COs finally cuffed me up, cause the old guy, he was like, man, stop bucking. You better cuff up. They gonna spray you. So I went ahead and let them cuff me up. They took me to the nurse and she looked at my jaw and she was like, can you shut your mouth? And I couldn't shut it all the way. Like it was like, I couldn't shut it all the way. It was so swelled up. My face was messed up, man. I'm trying to tell you. She was like, yeah, it's broken. He's going to have to go to an outside hospital. So the CEOs, they get mad. They're like, damn, we about to get off work. So they take me to an outside hospital. The whole time I'm down there, you know, the CEOs, they I don't know where they got food at, but the hospital was just giving them food. And they were just eating it in front of me. You know, I'd be eating that slop at jail and stuff. And, you know, they were sitting there. I remember them saying, man, if your jaw wasn't messed up, we will give you some of this. I feel bad eating in front of you like this. But the doctor finally came in after hours of waiting. And he told me, he was like, look, he's going to have surgery because his jaw is broken in 2 different places. And the only place we can't do it up here, he has to go to Baltimore. In Baltimore, from where I was in Hagerstown, that's probably like an hour and 30-minute drive. So the CEOs, they were really mad at that point. They was like, hell no, we about to get off work. They was sitting there calling back to the jail, and they was like, you got to send somebody else out here. They saying he has to go to Baltimore to get surgery. They ended up sending some more CEOs up there. They switched out. At first, I think did they take me back to the jail? Yeah, I think they took me back to the jail, and new CEOs came in there, and they, I forgot what happened. I don't know if they took me from there. Anyways, they took me to Baltimore, and going to Baltimore, I've only been to Baltimore like 2 times in my life, and the hospital, it looks like a mall. There's people everywhere in Baltimore, like, you know, everywhere. They parked around the corner, and we had to walk like a distance to the hospital. It was probably like a 7-minute walk. And the whole time I got, you know, handcuffs on my wrist, and, you know, it's going down into my ankles. So, and I'm in a bright orange suit. I'm feeling like Hannibal Lecter or something. I'm walking with 2 COs on the side of me, and everybody, all these civilians are just looking at me like I'm like a monster or something. You know, I ain't killed nobody or nothing, but that's how they're looking at me. You know, it was embarrassing. I get in there, and, you know, I'm not gonna lie, when you get hurt really bad in jail or prison, man, they treat you like a dog. I ain't gonna lie, like cattle. Man, I'm in the hospital, man, and they just, man, no comfort or nothing. While I was there, they did give me a couple Percocets and stuff. You know, that they probably shouldn't have did that because, you know, I was hooked on that stuff. I was trying to get more to take back to the jail, but they weren't allowing it. When I left that hospital, it was Tylenol from here on out. No, you can't take narcotics back to the jail. But I ended up doing surgery and all that. And by the time they took me back to the jail, I had to stay in medical for like, I think like 4 days, because when you get surgery, they got to watch you and stuff. But after that, they took me to the hole because I was fighting. It doesn't matter. If you throw one punch while you're in jail or prison, you going straight to the hole. It doesn't matter. You going to the hole. So as soon as I get to the hole, I see Honcho's at the door, at the cell door, because they're about to lock me in. They got my door open and they telling me to get in my cell. But Honcho's like, hey, come over here real quick, holler at me. I go over there real quick. He was like, man, why'd you come? Why you do all that? Why you crash out like that? I was like, what are you talking about? You sent me that fucking kite and stuff saying you trying to extort me and stuff. He was like, man, I ain't send you no kite. Come to find out, the whole time, my cellie, Tamar, he set that whole thing up because when I got into the room with Tamar, I was running my mouth too much, letting them know my business. And to get the Crips off the tier, he got me to crash out with them. So, the whole time I'm playing checkers and they playing chess. That's how jail is. I like to tell that story because jail and prison is a whole different world. I just like to tell that to people. You go in there thinking that, the outside rules don't apply in jail. I'm telling you, people, you could just be talking to somebody, having a normal conversation, and you're telling them extra information, and they're just calculating that up to use to their advantage. I'm telling you, that's how it be in there. People prey on people, and they don't. I'm serious. It's a dog eat dog world, man. But the whole time, I'm mad as hell at this point. And this is how petty Tamar did me, though. When you get sent to the hole, all my property and stuff that was in the room, he packs all that up. The CO comes in there into the cell. I'm like, hey, pack your celly stuff up. He's in the hole. What all stuff does he have? You know what he did? He took all my food, all my commissary. He took that shit. He took I had a blanket. He took my blanket. We had a little blanket we used for like a rug. It had holes in it. It was all dirty and shit. He gave me that and took my blanket. That's how petty this dude was. The whole time I was in the cell phone, I was in the cell phone like 3 months. And there was nothing, I didn't think it was like that. But when it comes to gangs and stuff, I'm telling you, people are gonna stick with their own. So I'm in the hole for like, I think they give us like 30 days for fighting, right? And I'm in the hole, and a week later, guess who comes to the hole? Tamar and a couple other BGF. They get locked up and they get sent to the hole. Come to find out, after the Crips were gone and stuff, they tried to bully the pod, and they got into it with the Bloods. The Bloods put them on the door. But this is the thing about it: when they got to Tamar, and they was putting Tamar on the door, Tamar was sitting there, was like, because they beat up the other BGF. They were outnumbered. I'm not gonna lie. Every jail I go to, the Bloods be deep as hell. They got to Tamar, and Tamar was like, I'm not BGF. I'm not from there. He like, what do you call it? He disassociated himself with the gang. And when the rest of the BGF found out about that, they were mad as hell. They told him he wasn't that no more. So he got everybody mad at him down there in the hole. But I still felt like he played me, right? There was this crazy dude that stayed next door, in the cell next door. He liked to play with his own dookie and stuff. Like, that's what he would do. He would use his own dookie as a weapon. Like, if a CO pissed him off or whatever, he would shit in a bottle, a shampoo bottle, put milk in it, he pissed in it, all that, and let it sit for like days. And he would use it as a weapon. He would throw that on COs. It didn't matter. I paid this guy. I talked to him out the vent. I told him, I said, when you out there for a shower, because the only time you get out of your cell in the hole is when you take a shower. They'll let you, they'll cuff you up, and they'll walk you over to the shower, and you get in the shower. They'll uncuff you. You take a shower, and they'll cuff you back up, and you get to walk around for like 15 minutes before they lock you back up. So I told him, I said, if you go out there and you Glock Dookie him tomorrow, I'll pay you $50. I'll put it on your books. So he was like, bet. That's what he did. And how I did that is, when you in the hole, you can still go to commissary, but you can't buy food. You can buy like pencil, paper, stamps and stuff. Whatever he wanted for $50, I bought it and gave it to him. And what he did is, he went out there, he took a shower, and he had a bottle of shit. He went up to Tamar's cell door, and he called him over there. Tamar didn't know what was going on. He got up on the door, at the crack of the door. He's like, Tamar, come holler at me. Tamar got off his bed and walked all the way up to the door, and he put the shampoo bottle up to the crack and squirted it. So all the shit squirted on Tamar. He was mad as shit. I know it ain't, he got my jaw broken. Like, the shit he did got my jaw broken, got me beat up, and all I did was get shit thrown on him. I mean, it ain't how I would want it to end, but you know, I got some type of payback. You know, some type. It was something. But yeah, that was like my first couple of months. That was like my first couple of months in jail, and it only got crazier after that. I ain't gonna lie, cause I was in and out the hole, in and out of the hole, in and out of the hole. Yeah, and in life, jail is a good place to slow you down. You know, but prison and jail is a different, dangerous place, man. I'm trying to tell you, and I like to get on here and forewarn people that you know, if you're out there living fast, this is not the life you want. You know, it took me a long. Thank you for that gift. It took me a long time to see this stuff, but you know, after the years in prison and jail, you know, you call the homies at first. Everybody's answering the phone for you. They're saying they're gonna put money in your books. They're gonna do this and that. But after a couple years go on, ain't nobody answering the phone for you. The only people answering the phone is your family, your loved ones. That's it. You know, so I just want to get on here. I'll be getting on here trying to put stories out, trying to warn all the young people and the people ain't never been. Because believe it or not, it don't matter if you're 30 years old and you ain't never been to jail or prison. Man, you fuck up one time, you can go. You can go. I'm not, because everybody in there ain't all tatted up and stuff. They look like ordinary people. And you got some crazy people in there. Some crazy people. I think last time I was on here, I talked about it. There was this guy named Santos. Everybody said that he liked to make love to animals and stuff. And at first I thought they was just joking around and stuff. Come to find out, you know, I talked to the dude and he said, yeah, I like that kind of stuff. He's into it. Thank you for that flow state. But yeah, you got some sick people, man. Instead of like sending people to mental hospitals, they send them to jail. There was this one dude and just talked to himself. He never took a shower. Every time the cell's open to go out there for rec, man, you walk past this cell and it smelled like just like Cheetos and dirty feet, man. It was nasty. He didn't even have a cell buddy because everybody that was gonna go to his room, they said, hell no, they ain't going in there. Hell no. But going to jail, it would teach you like discipline. Thank you for that. Thank you for the gift. It would teach you discipline. It would teach you patience, because nothing works on your time. Nothing. You gotta be told when to take a shower, when to eat, what to eat. You know, it's not the life for anybody. Going to jail was pretty boring though. I ain't gonna lie. The jail is boring. Cause all day, I never read a book or nothing until I started going to jail. Cause there ain't nothing to do in jail at all. I mean, they'll let you out of your cell for like an hour and you get to go out there and watch TV and stuff. But when you go back in your cell, you just sitting there all day. Nothing. Read books is the best thing to do. But now when I went to prison, when I found out I had to go to prison, you know, I had an Xbox 360 in there. It was a little bit better, you know. But nothing beats freedom. That's for sure. Ain't nothing beat freedom. No, I'm not locked up. This is a background. Yeah, I ain't gonna lie. I see a lot of people, a lot of prison content creators, they be having prison cells as backgrounds. So I was like, hell, you can tell that's fake. That don't even look real, man. What the hell? That don't even look real. But that was my life for the longest time, man. That was my life. And the whole time I'm sitting in there, you know, that's when I finally realized, I was like, damn, man, I don't want this life. Matter of fact, I tell y'all how I didn't even have the tattoos on my face when I first got to the jail. I had a couple of them, right? I didn't have like this and like a couple of them. When I got to jail, my granddad passed away, and like I was heartbroken, like, you know, and my grandma, she started to get sick and stuff. So I was like, damn, I got to get out so I can see my grandma. And she ended up passing away while I was in there, and it messed me up really bad. Like it depressed me. So I started putting tattoos on my face and stuff. Like I was trying to be somebody else. I wasn't trying to be me no more. You know, not everybody that has tattoos on their face is a bad person. I mean, sometimes people could use it as like a defense. Cause I've seen some people, like some MS-13 members, they got the whole thing going on. You know, they got some crazy looking people in there. I ain't gonna lie, you do got some crazy looking people. That's why the saying trap my body, but can't trap my mind. Yeah, you definitely can't. The whole time you're in jail, you want to try to improve yourself. That's your whole goal, is to try to improve yourself. Either you can improve your body by working out and stuff every day, or you can improve your mind by reading books and stuff. Jail is nothing. Bye. You crazy as hell. Jail is something. Jail is a big waste of time, but it's not all bad though. It's not. I had a lot of homies, right? They got released from jail and they went home. And I had this one homie, his name was Slim. He was home for like a week and he got shot and killed. You know, I can bring it up on the thing. His name was Slim. He got killed on Jonathan Street in Hagerstown. That part hurt me, because I felt like jail kind of saved him, because he would have died a lot sooner, but he got out and he started going back to doing what he was doing. See, when you get out, you got to change yourself. You can't just get out and just jump back into what you were doing. You gotta try to improve, and that's what I seen. I was sitting there, I'm like, this ain't the life I want. I don't want this shit. I want to do the family thing. I want to grow old. And when you trying to be a gangster and sell drugs and all that, there ain't no retirement plan for that. It really ain't. Matter of fact, look at if there's any young people in the chat, look at Pooh Shiesty right now. All y'all be looking up to this man. He got out and he back in there, and now he's facing life. He's rich for nothing. He got all that money, and what can he spend it on? He can't spend it on nothing. Thank you for that gift. Well, he gonna spend all his money on some noodles and chips. That's it. He can't spend his money nowhere else unless he buying phones and stuff in there, but still, they ain't no life to have. But if y'all enjoyed that story, I got a lot of other stories on my page, and I'll be doing interviews, because I got my own stories, but I'll be inviting other people on my platform so they can tell their stories, because I think every story's got a purpose. There's a lesson to be learned in every story, and I like bringing everybody on. Like I'll be having COs to people from Atlanta, Georgia. Everybody. I want people from all walks of life. Like I had the guys that be in there and they be dressing like girls. They got certain names. People be calling them gumps, punks, and stuff like that. I invited one of them onto my platform, and they told their prison story. So I'll take anybody to come on and tell the story, as long as it helps somebody else, because that's the whole point. I'm hoping people can learn from our mistakes, and that's the big thing about it. Because when I was in there, I seen a lot of young people come in there, and like they were like me at first. When I went in there, I was doing all the wrong things, and I would just see countless times they go in there, get in debt, or they be trying to join a gang and get themselves caught up in a whole bunch of mess. That's the worst thing you can do, is go to jail and join a gang. That's the worst thing you can do. I'm trying to tell you, because now what you have done is the next man's problems is your problems. That's all you have done now. You've taken on a whole bunch of other people's problems. So if you a Crip, and if there's another Crip and somebody owes him money, now you're involved. You don't get to sit out. And what happens if like you with somebody and y'all go in the cell? This happened to a blood dude. He had like 5 years in there, right? And while I was in jail, before I got to prison, he got rebooked in. He came from prison. He didn't get to go home. He went from prison back to jail because he caught a new charge. He caught a murder charge. And he told me the story. And this is what he told me. He said him and 2 other bloods ran into this dude's cell that was selling the K2. And basically, if you don't know what the K2 is, it's where they spray it on the paper and they sell it in there, and they be smoking it. People be smoking it. It's addictive. It turns people into zombies, and it corrodes your brain. Like it have you looking like a zombie. But people, they be spending a whole bunch of money just to get a little piece of paper, just to get them through the day. It's not all bad on them, because a lot of people, you got people in there dealing with like 15, 20 years, they dealing with a whole lot The wives, the girlfriends probably left them. They can't see their kids. So that's what they want to do all day. They want to get high. They want to escape reality. You know, I don't fault them for that. But you know, it's a bad thing to do. You shouldn't, because it ends bad every time, because you're going to end up getting yourself a habit in there. And you know, when you got a habit, you got to do it every day. If you do it, you know, and you one day you ain't got it, you're gonna be sick. You're gonna be ill, and that's how you be burning bridges. Because you'll call home and you'll tell your people anything and everything to get them to send that money. And you know, when you'll be lying to them, all kinds of stuff, and people get tired of that. You know, people get tired of that. They'll stop answering the phone for you and everything. I seen it. I've seen people have nobody in there because they done ran them all off. And then when that happens, now they go to the drug man and they be like, hey, they'll get a whole bunch of product and they say they're gonna pay back a certain day, but they know they ain't got it. And then when that day comes, man, they got like a whole gang after them. And they don't play around. If you got a debt inside of prison and jail, prison. Jail and prison is two different things. In jail, you're just gonna get beat up. But in prison, I'm telling you, you might not make it home. Some places is worse than others. It depends on what prison, what jail you at. Like if you're doing time in North Dakota, you know, North Dakota ain't barely got no gangs down there. It's not gonna be that bad. But now if you do your time in like Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia, you know, you might die down there. People die every day down there. Look it up. People die every day down there. And it's the same in New York too. And you know, down here on the East Coast, I'm down here in the Hagerstown. That's where I did my time, Hagerstown, Maryland. You know, I seen people get stabbed up in there. I seen like 13 people lose their lives while I was doing time in jail and prison. The first time I seen somebody die in jail, what was the first time? It was an overdose. I remember like it was yesterday. I had woken up and I was on B pod. It was morning rec. I went out there for rec and I heard an inmate banging on a door and he was yelling my name. I looked over and it was this dude named Big Eyes. Big Eyes, he was on quarantine. He had been in there already, but he just got, you know, he got bonded out. But now he's back again. And it's a little short, chubby black guy. And we call him Big Eyes because his eyes is always big as hell. It looked like he on that meth or something, you know. He just looked like he's gone. Anyways, I go up to his door, his cell door, and I'm sitting there talking to him. I'm like, damn, Big Eyes, you back in here? He's like, man, I need you to make a phone call for me. I got you, man. I'm gonna look out for you. And the whole time I'm sitting there thinking that he's talking about like commissary. He's gonna pay me some commissary to go make a phone call for him. Because that's what people do. If you want anything done in there, you got to pay for it. Like, here, I got, can you go get this note to such and such? I got a noodle for you. You got to pay somebody to do it. So the whole time I'm sitting there like, go ahead and write your, what you want me to say and write the number down and slide it out to me. I got you. So he does that. I go over to the phones and he basically wanted me to call his girl and tell his girl to come up with the money and get him out, bond him out. So I do that. I talk to his girl and do that. I go back to the cell and I'm like, it's done. So we start talking. I forgot what we're talking about, but he slides me out a piece of paper and I get it and I unfold it and it's got white powder in there. It looked like baby powder. That was Fetti and it was uncut. I was like, shit. I was like, what the fuck? I was like, damn, Big Eyes. Cause just a little bit of that in jail, it's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. I could take that little bit and somebody give me the whole store bag for it, you know? Because, you know, you got a lot of people want to get high in there and it's not in there all the time. So I'm sitting there talking to him. I'm like, damn, what you got in this? How'd you get this in? He was telling me that he was selling it on the streets, and thank you for that gift. He was selling it. The cops pulled him over, and before they arrested him, before they got to the car, he hurried up and put it in his prison pocket. He hurried up and shoved it in there. You know, the prison pocket, basically, you know, he shoved it up in there. Thank you for that gift. And so the whole time I take it back to my cell and I'm in there with a dude named, what's his name? Showtime. He's another homie. He from Baltimore. And, you know, I throw it on the table the little bit of stuff he gave me. And Showtime, he's like, "What's that, cuz?" I said, "It's the Fetti." He's like, "Oh," his eyes got big as shit. He looked like, I told him he won a lottery or something. He was happy as hell. He's like, "Man, can I try some of that?" I'm like, "It's uncut, man. I don't want you to go, like, to go out in here." He starts telling me, he's like, "Man, that's what I do. Listen, in Baltimore," he starts talking about Baltimore. He talking about how bad it is down there and how he was in abandoned buildings. He said they call them bandos or something like that. He said he was sleeping in them and all kinds of stuff. Basically, he's trying to tell me this is what he does. He chases this stuff. Like he was telling me before he got locked up, he got one of these shots. I guess it's a Suboxone shot or something, where the doctor will put this thing in you, and it's supposed to kill your urges to want to get high. But he had it. I forgot what it's called. It's got a word for it. Yeah, that thing. That word right there. But he still wanted to get high. So I was like, man, he was bugging the hell out of me. So I was like, go ahead, do it, man. Go ahead. You just owe me the money. So he does it. And, he wants to know who's got it and stuff. I tell him who got it. I told him Big Eyes got it. So as soon as the next rec time happened, he goes straight out there. He's at Big Eyes' cell, and he done went and told everybody. He done went and told every freaking body. Now the whole pod's getting high. Everybody's sweating. Everybody's like, running around. Big Eyes is the man now. He got everybody. Look, this man just got in there. He got tons of food and everything. You see people coming over there sliding noodles and chips under his door and shit. He got everybody coming to try to get that stuff from him. But then, like, that stuff was uncut. People started ODing off of it. And that's when the jail started noticing. How it happened? I think Big Eyes, he got bonded out. But before he got bonded out, he gave the rest of what he had to a guy he knows in there. They call him OG. It was a short, light-skinned dude with curly gray hair and big thick glasses. Everybody could just call him OG. He gave the stuff to him, and basically they had a deal. Basically, he's gonna sell it for Big Eyes, and he gonna send Big Eyes the money through Cash App. He gonna have, if anybody wants to buy some from him, they send it to the Big Eyes Cash App, and he gets to keep a little cut. And I don't know what he was doing. Big Eyes was cutting it, and people were ODing, but they weren't ODing like that. But when OG got a hold of it, now OG wasn't cutting it like that. I remember people really started ODing. And I remember one time there was a guy, he was in the middle of the floor, and I remember all these, I don't remember if he OD'd or he was trying to self-delete. I can't remember. But you had a whole bunch of ambulances come in there. And I remember they had this one machine. I ain't never seen it in my life before. It was a little box machine, and it had like this thing that would come up and down. And I guess it was like to pump your chest, and they put it on him. I'd never seen that before. I don't even know what it's called or nothing. But they were sitting there pumping his chest. And at the same time, while they were doing that, they locked all the rest of us down. We're just watching out of ourselves. There was this guy named Dro. He was a blood, and he was on segregation. He couldn't be around nobody else because he killed a high-level ranking blood. Somebody in his set, he went out and killed a high-ranking blood, and they didn't want him around anybody else until he got done trial or whatever. So they had him on segregation. He couldn't come out with us or whatever. At the same time that was going on, he had some of the Fetti, and he was standing on his desk in his cell talking in the vent to his next door neighbor, and he ended up ODing. He ended up going out on that stuff, falling off of his desk and hitting the ground. And if you ever been to jail or prison, the ground is like concrete. He fell off and hit that ground, and by the time anybody found him, he was dead. He died in there. Because it confused me, right? Because I thought when people said that somebody died, I thought they were talking about the guy that they were pumping his chest out there. They were like, no, not him. He lived. I'm talking about Dro. I'm like, what? I was just talking to Dro. I couldn't believe it, because every time I go off a wreck, I always stop by his door and talk to him. And, I'm talking to him one day, and then a few hours later, he's dead. That hit me hard, man. I ain't gonna lie, that really did hit me hard. He was cool people and everything. You know, he was, because I knew I was going to prison, and you know I would get advice from him because I ain't. That was my I'm going to prison. You know, so he's been to prison in and out. So I'll go to his cell and be like, "Yo," I would ask him questions. You know, just trying to like take mental notes and stuff. And he was gone the next day. You know, it sucked. But the next person I seen die in jail was somebody that self-deleted. And basically, you know, I don't know how they did it. All I know is they used they got sheets in there. They cut out a sheet. And if you cut the sheet in a certain way, you can make a line with it, a rope. And they connected it to the bunk bed and put it around their neck, and they ended themselves. You know, and it's crazy when that happened because the COs, they went up there and they put something over his cell door, the window to his cell door. They put a black thing there so nobody can look in there, right? But before they took him out, they had us locked down. Before they did that, they had us locked down, and they put him in a black body bag, and they were like, they had one CO grab him by his legs, and they were taking him out the cell, and they had to go down the stairs, and the whole time the CO was letting this guy's head hit the back of the stairs like that. You know, I remember inmates was sitting there yelling out. They were like, "Man, you gonna disrespect that man's body like that?" There were people upset, man. And that just goes to show you, man, when once you get your freedom taken away, people don't care about your well-being. That's just like people that die in prison, man. They don't send you out to be with your family. I don't think. They just, you know, if nobody claims you, they'll put you in a little, you know, grave out there. You know, it's sad, man. It really is. They spend 15 cents on inmates' food. Every meal, it costs 15 cents. You know, a 5-year-old could eat that stuff and not get full. For real, it's bad. But I remember going from jail to prison. I ended up going to court, and I thought the whole time I'm talking to my lawyer, I'm thinking my lawyer is telling me every day because I paid lawyer. I paid $10,000 for a paid lawyer, and the whole time I'm talking to him for like I was in the county for like almost 3 years, Joe. The whole time he's like, "Look, you've been here so long. By the time we go to court, they gonna give you some time served, and you know that probably gonna give you some probation. You know, that's it." Man, we got close to the court date. I mean, the trial, not the trial, but where we're gonna take a plea deal or whatever. And then he tells me, he's like, "Man, they ain't budging." I'm like, "Man, what the hell? You've been telling me this the whole time. Now you telling me?" He's talking about they wanted to give you 20 years, but I talked them down to 10. I'm like, "What the hell?" It was some crazy. It was some crazy number, but it was like I forgot the exact thing. I gave you the papers, but it was like 8 years, and then like probation and all that added on to it. It had a whole lot of backup time and stuff. That's what they do. They give you a whole bunch of backup time and stuff. Yeah, it's crazy. But soon as I took my I had to take a plea deal. I took the plea deal, so basically I'm going to prison now. And you know, as soon as they tell you you're going to prison, they ship you off the next but time that bus goes out, man. I remember it took me like 3 days, and I was already on the van going to prison. That was crazy. The whole time I was in jail, they don't let you outside. So, you know, I remember I used to be sitting in my cell. I'd be like, "Damn, man, I ain't touched a tree. I ain't touched a piece of grass or nothing in like 3 years." That mess with you, man. I'm telling you. I mean, you might be sitting in your house right now, right? And you know you can go outside and you can touch grass if you want to. Imagine being somewheres where you know you can't do nothing. It sucks. But I remember when they took me to prison, you know, they shackled me up with my wrist down to my ankles. I was in there with like 3 other people. We went in the van. They took me, the first prison I went to was MCTC. It's in Hagerstown, Maryland. And you know, my first day in there, I seen somebody get stabbed. And that's the thing about it. Look, when I found out that I was going to prison, I went back to the pod before I went to prison. I went back to the pod when I was still in jail, and I told the homies and stuff. I was like, "Man, I'm going to prison. What is it like? Can y'all tell me, tell me some stories?" Man, they was telling me all this horrible ass shit. They was telling me about people getting stabbed in the eye, people getting decapitated, all this crazy stuff. You know, I didn't believe them. I was like, man, y'all cap. Why y'all trying to scare me, yo? You know, but I ain't gonna lie. My first day in prison, I seen somebody get stabbed up. That freaked me out. I ain't gonna lie, man. So when I got to prison, you know, you gotta basically you gotta take your clothes off. You gotta do the whole search again. You know, squat, open your cheeks, fucking, you lift up your sack, all that. You gotta do all that. Anyways, they put everybody into these little cages in this room. It's got like, you ever seen them cages, them workout cages they got in like California or something, when they're on lockdown, they put the high max people into these single cages. They look like that, if you know what I'm talking about. But anyways, they had like 10 cages in this room, and we all, it's a whole bunch of inmates. I got a couple people that came from the jail with me, and there's some other people that came from different jails, and we all sitting in these cages, and there's a big TV in the middle of the room, and they put on a PREA video. And basically, if you don't know what PREA is, I forgot what it stands for, but basically, if you get sexually essayed, all that, anything sexual, you know, they dealing with it, because when you're an inmate, you can't consent to having you know, you can't consent to having sexual things. You can't consent to it. That means, you know, if a DO is having a relationship with an inmate or whatever, PREA gets involved. If it's inmate on inmate, you know, you get, it's PREA. But they basically tell you what to look for, and you know, they warn you about it and stuff. After that, they took us to the nurse. We had to take blood samples and all that, you know, the whole works. You have to go back on quarantine when you go to prison. You know, that's the part that sucked. Because, you know, you did quarantine when you were in jail, but when you go to prison, you got to do it all over again. And I just remember when I'm walking, me and the new guys were walking up to the nurse. I'm looking around the compound. The compound is like a small little city. You know, every prison is like a little small little city. I'm looking around. I'm like, damn, there ain't nobody out here. Come to find out, they on lockdown. They always on lockdown, you know, because of all the stabbings, and they always short staffed. If like they ain't got enough CO, they gotta go on lockdown because they ain't got enough people, enough guards. So they'll lock all the inmates in their cells. They do that a lot. So after we get checked out, medical or whatever, they send us to our new building. We gotta go to a quarantine thing, and we sitting in there. And I remember I'm in the cell with this white guy. I forgot his name. He's pretty cool though. We was in there, you know, reading books and stuff. And every time it's like child time, we go to the back window and we go look out, and we would watch all the inmates pouring out of these out of the building. And I'm telling you, you look like an army. You ever seen like you ever watched like a Battlefield movie or something? Thank you for that, Keep. And you done seen like the whole row of like people like facing off. I'm telling you, it looked like that. It was like a whole army of people coming out of this building, and they walking on the sidewalk. And, you know, we see these big groups of inmates at a time walking. Come to find out, that's gangs. When you go to prison, if you in a gang, you got to walk everywhere with your gang. If you're a blood member, you got to walk with the bloods everywhere. You know, if it's child time, if it's, you got to go, anything. It could be anything. You got to walk with another member of your gang. It's supposed to be for protection and stuff. They do that for like taking showers too. If you're in the shower, you got to have another gang member watching your back. You know, that's why a lot of people, they go to prison and stuff and they join gangs. And, you know, it's a big mistake. I wouldn't recommend anybody joining a gang. You know, basically, you know, you're listening to another man, you know, and there's rules. There's not something you could just join and quit out. So if you're not about that life, I don't recommend you trying it. I don't, because you can't just join it and quit out. It doesn't work like that. I've seen people like lose their lives because of this stuff. Seriously. I'm serious. It's not like you can just join the gang and be like, oh, I don't want to do this no more. Hell no, man. And it doesn't matter if you leave that prison and you go to another prison, man, information travels, especially in prison. Once you get a bad label, it follows you. Thank you for that gift. It follows you everywhere. If you, like, I wouldn't tell anybody, right? If you're not in a gang and you're a civilian, like, I wouldn't tell you you can't snitch. That's for like gang members and stuff. That's the street code. Civilians, they don't play by the street code. You know what I'm saying? They can do whatever they want to. But if you go to prison and jail, I would want and recommend you tell, you snitch or whatever. Cause why I say that, you can do what you want to, but it's dangerous, and people see that, and you're being danger. Then you become a target. Real talk. So that's why I won't recommend anybody doing it. But yeah. So that's back what I was saying. I forgot what I was talking about. So we watching everybody pour out these the building, and I didn't know at the time, but it was the Bloods, and it was a group of Muslims, and it was like 5 people. It was like 5 Bloods and like 3 Muslims, and they were fighting. And at first I thought they were just fist fighting, but then I started, because everybody has on a white t-shirt and gray sweatpants. That's what everybody wears. And then I see this guy. It looks like somebody ran up and just threw Kool-Aid, red Kool-Aid. It looked like somebody just ran up and threw it all over him. Like he was all bleeding out. Man, he started running across the grass and everything. And that's one thing about prison is you gotta walk on the sidewalk. If the CO sees you walking in the grass, you go automatically to the hole. You can't. So if you see somebody in the grass, it's either life or death. It's either life or death, because nobody wants to go to the hole, because everybody's got something going on. And when you go to the hole, you gotta leave your pod, and you're leaving your building. Everybody that you knew, anything that you had going on for anybody, now they can put you anywhere on the compound. You never know where you're gonna go. It just messes up a lot of stuff. Yeah, but that was my first day, and I seen this one guy get stabbed all up in this stuff, man. I don't know if he died. I don't know if he made it. I don't know. Because I was on quarantine. I just know what happened. But it was crazy, man. And I remember this one thing I do remember though. I remember there was a couple other people on quarantine with us, and there was some young dudes. And when you're on quarantine, there ain't nothing to do, right? And there'll be inmates at their door, and they be talking through the door, right, to each other. And I remember there was a CO, a correctional officer. He was about to get off work, and I guess he had his lunch bag and stuff, and he was walking, I guess, out to his car or whatever, and he was walking out of the building, of our building. But these young guys, they were being so loud, and they was talking about, they was bragging about their girls and stuff, the girls they done been with on the outside, and the CO must have heard that. And I remember he said some funny ass shit. He was like, "You ain't got to worry about your girl no more. You gonna be looking at man ass now." He said something crazy like that, man. Oh, everybody got mad as hell. Man, those young dudes, they're like, "Oh, hell no." You heard what that motherfucker said? And they was mad as shit. But that was funny though. I remember that. Yeah. And yeah, I had a rough time. There's some other stories. I got a lot of my stories on my page. There's too much to go through. Just one live, I would have to break the lives down. But yeah, I've been talking for a while now, so I'm probably gonna take a break now. I ain't been seeing what y'all been saying at all. I'm my bad. I ain't gonna lie. I'm sorry if y'all wrote me a comment or something. I didn't see it, but that thing was just like zoom, 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 zoom. But anyway, one of my members, by the way, if you want to support the movement, go ahead and become a member on my channel. But one of my members, they wrote me, and they asked me to tell about my first day in prison and all that, my jail. So that's what I did on this live stream, and I'm gonna cut it up and I'm gonna put it on my page. But yeah, I thank y'all for coming and listening. I'll probably be on here tomorrow or whatever to tell some more stories. If you want to hear some more stories, or if you like what I was talking about, man, think about subscribing and drop a like, please. But yeah, I basically just tell all this stuff. I'm not trying to glorify nothing. I regret ever going to prison. I regret it. I try to forewarn people. I don't want people to make my same mistakes that I made. That's the big thing about it. Because I'm not a violent person. I don't want to see anybody get hurt. And when you go to prison, a lot of people get hurt. You got a lot of predators in there. I've seen the worst of the worst. Thank you for that gift. But I don't want to see your sons, your daughters. I don't want to see none of that, nobody in there getting hurt. So, I just like to tell people these stories and stuff. On my page, I got interviews and all that. So, Yeah, check it out. Subscribe, you know, become part of the C Pod family. That's what I call my little clique. I call it the C Pod family because we all like a pod at the end of the day. But yeah, I thank y'all for coming and listening to. Thank you, Rich. I appreciate that. I thank y'all for coming and listening. I really appreciate it, and I'll see y'all tomorrow. Yeah, thank Rich. Peace.